Clark, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. How are you?
Oh, good. Um I actually am you know how I kind of told you how we were restructuring our pediatric program that we had? It all came to light today.
Oh,
So
is
we communicated the message to all of our upper management last week or 2 weeks ago and told the staff today, and I was out sick. So so I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late here. That's what I was on the
that
phone for.
so? Was that a good milestone for you, or scary,
Um,
or
you know what the reality of healthcare is that Medicaid doesn't reimburse, and so Medicaid, Medicare doesn't reimburse for the things that the quality services that we're providing. And so ultimately, one of our clinics was losing about 33% of our whole entire revenue because of that. So because of our reimbursement, I mean, like for the sake of discussion, if we billed out one therapy visit, it was $100 and we would get $35 back. hmm So
so? That, so what are you doing about that?
we just we can't provide it at the level that we were doing it. We still have to by the state of Minnesota, it's required, but we just can't do it at the level that we were doing it at. I mean, we had 6 full-time therapists in peds alone, pediatric therapy alone, and so now we're really only going down to like one.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been pretty tough. And you know, it's therapist jobs and therapist dreams, and that's the hard part. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, that's okay. You know what? It just had to be done, and they kind of knew it was coming. So it's kind of just a crappy situation, but we're through it now, and that's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
So
And in the middle of that, you're also dealing with a cold.
yeah, you know, it just I think it just kind of wore down on me, but that's all right. I will get this done. I We had a really great conversation, Clark, with all of the dementia preceptors. It was really fun. I don't know if Lynn told you that, but we had a conference call with everybody, and it was really, really cool to see just the amount of growth in the company of just the things that people were doing. I mean, you guys hear it on your conference calls, but we didn't hear how everybody was doing. So that was really empowering.
Yeah. So tell me about it, because really, Lloyd, Beth, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to get together and
Oh, okay.
really hear what everyone is really doing. But yeah, I'd like to know.
So a couple of people have already done nursing like stand-ups, just their like quick 15-minute meetings, just to say that this is a gem level that they're doing gem levels each week, and then a couple of them already practice the hand under hand technique, and it sounds like one of the girls is taking the gem levels and working to put it with Allen cognitive levels, and then the global deterioration scale, and then the slums level, and then the mocha level, and kind of putting them all in the levels. I think they're either working with, I think they're working with Beth to do that,
Good.
if I'm not mistaken. But so that physicians understand the gem levels uh, better and can understand the scores of the tests that we're giving them too. So
That's
that'll be coming out probably within the next couple of weeks. So that's something that one of the girls is working on.
probably Jody.
Yes.
Yeah, I should. I started doing that myself. I should send them what I have.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's excellent.
So that was
Um,
good. They have the only thing they don't have is the functional communication level, or CL or something like that. It was a test that's supposed to be completed. So that was one that they didn't have the levels for. So what else were people doing? They have already done some development, not with the preceptor stuff, but just have lined up nursing calls like we do and nursing meetings and things like that to talk about. So they've already trained some on the floor staff about positive physical approach. So, but
Cool.
yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That sounds great. I'm so glad to hear that. So, you must be encouraged by all that.
Yeah, it is fun to see, fun to hear too. So.
Okay. So this is officially our third call, right? I'm kind of
Yeah.
losing track.
Yep,
Okay.
our third call. So this is a diamond and an emerald again because we wanted to see how that goes.
And although you did this one, which
Yeah.
is going to the preceptor process, you did that for call number 2.
That was call number 2 with the diamond and emerald, and I said I wanted to do it again because they couldn't really do that second. Is this it?
Yeah, this should be it here.
Yeah, this is right.
When did you guys record this one?
Or
was that a while ago?
Nope. There was a couple of them. So we did that one last Monday or last Tuesday. Last Monday. Sorry, losing track.
Yep, and it's Meredith, right?
Yeah.
So it started out why you were sort of explaining the gem levels, going over, doing the whole setup there, and then working with the sugars.
Yep.
Okay, so how did that go? Just in general terms, how was the whole process?
Good. She didn't really do the whole task. She just said, "Oh, well, that was the first issue is that nursing didn't know when to get her up." And I was like, okay, so it was a behavioral, just a preference thing versus an actual activity. So in general, it was good, but you never know how somebody's going to act when you don't know all of the, you haven't coached them through every single step of the actual activity. So she's kind of making things up too.
Meredith came to the skills day, right?
Yep.
Okay. So give me some feedback on how Meredith did and how Charisse did and what you saw from your partners there.
I felt like Meredith did a nice job doing the positive physical approach, even though, because she was on the other side. She even said she didn't really feel, she's like, I'm not really sure what I was supposed to do when she was facing the other direction. And so I think she did a nice job approaching her right away and then kind of backing off when she said, no, I wanted to sleep more because it was a preference. So she couldn't really establish that hand under hand because she was flipped over. So
yeah, yep, gotcha. So how about and how did Charisse do?
Playing the part, yeah. I think she did good.
Yeah. Okay, and so setting it up and this first video, setting it up and having them do it, how was this for you as the preceptor?
Good. I think it was nice. I didn't record previously the that conversation of what we would be working on and things like that. So that was kind of nice to get a little background of where she was going with it. I think it was helpful for Charisse. I made it a point to ask Charisse first because that was something we wanted to work on. And Meredith, I think, didn't understand my question when I said, okay, so what did she tell you? She was kind of maybe taken off guard by that. So maybe she wasn't really listening.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Hmm.
That she kind of said, "Well, what do you mean?" Um, which which happens a lot. Uh,
Hmm.
and so that's a great reason to confirm. Um, and then so you know, it's not meant to be a quiz for them or
Right.
to make it feel like, oh, well, you weren't listening, you should have been listening. It's just meant to know really what did they hear her say.
Right.
So sometimes when someone feels a little lost like that, well, I don't know, or you know, in the briefest terms, my little trick is to just go back to Charisse and say, "Oh, Charisse, could you just state
Read.
again for us how you feel, where you're feeling?" So it just gives
Okay.
a second opportunity
That's a good idea.
to hear it. Okay, did any part of the process with the first one and then with the second video? Um, let's
It's
get.
kind of the same thing, the same, it's not two different videos. It's just I didn't have another phone to record. So that's the reason I said, well, let's take a look at the video. And so I had to stop it and then re-record it. So that's kind of how that kind of broke apart. Um, but I do think it was nice to have Meredith see the video, which I didn't have before. So that was cool. It was interesting for her.
Tell me about that. The video, watching the video that you recorded was interesting.
Yeah, I think she was understanding what she needed to focus on more. Um, I mean, she's like, she was, even after recording this, she's like, "Ooh, I should have gotten her line of view on the other side of the bed first," and kind of, so she was kind of double guessing, or she didn't really say it on the video, but she did say it afterwards. So, um, so that was some feedback for herself.
And that came from watching the video.
Hmm.
Cool. Awesome. So you did a lot really well here. I'm seeing the pieces all come together. What didn't feel so comfortable to you? Any part of it?
But just when Meredith wasn't listening, I was like, I wasn't really sure how to coach her, but that was a good trick that you said. Why don't you repeat what you said, Charisse, and maybe Meredith can kind of get some more feedback. I think that would have been better. That was my only uncomfortable moment that I was like, she wouldn't have done that. I guess the second one is that she didn't actually do the hand under hand or like actually get her to do an activity. She just like got up and left. So, but that's reality. I guess some nurses probably wouldn't have gathered that. So.
Yeah, and that's where, okay, she did the experience. She had the experience. She had something she was going to try. Well, I'll come back later. That seems reasonable. So in the moment coaching, what I might say is, oh, she really has to get up.
Okay,
And for some reason, we really need to get her up. So,
let's
um,
try it.
yeah, so maybe the doctor is insisting on seeing her right now, and we have to get her down to the therapy room because the orthopedic surgeon's going to be there, and we need her in the therapy room for that. So
Yeah.
there's no possibility for her to say no.
So
Um,
you, so even like if you're doing a preceptor with the nursing itself, you still request that or not? Or just because we're teaching and learning right now?
um, request request what?
Like if you're in the moment and you're trying to get them to do something and they're not doing it or they turn around and left, would you reapproach that like the person that you're trying to precept? Or is that just in this case of Meredith?
No,
Does that make
I
sense?
would say it's in any case. My thought is, what she did is fine and might be works for the situation. Okay, we can let the person rest. There's no problem resting, but just sort of upping the game in terms of what kind of skills can we build in so that she can help overcome the resistance she'll see in people. Um,
Okay.
so okay, so um, because maybe the answer is every time the person doesn't want to go, that's fine. And we just need to respect that answer. And we're never going to be put in a position where we have to really get someone to go, or really try to get someone to go when they're resistant to going.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what it is, and that's fine. But I would imagine, okay, so I'm Clark, and I'm a diamond. I'm in a facility. You're my therapist, and I just hate going to therapy, and so I don't want to go. I just want to stay here in bed. And if you talk to me about therapy, I'm not gonna go.
Right.
So it's, how can you build that connection with me? How can you get me up out of bed without talking about therapy? Back to the positive
Mm-hmm.
actions.
Okay.
That sort of. So I
So,
think, yeah.
So instead of her just walking away and say, well, let's really try to get her up, essentially, or let's really try to hone in on your skills and just see if we get it back, kind of thing. Kind of get back the relationship or rebuilding it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's whatever. I think there are two ways to look at it, I suppose, as a preceptor. It's one, why are you doing this in a real life situation? Obviously, for these little videos, this is all contrived, and why we're doing this is to have you feel comfortable with the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
But in real life, when you're doing it, why are you in that preceptor role? Is it because you're teaching skills to people that you think it's important for them to learn, or something else?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, the priority is always you want to make somebody participate, so.
Yeah. So did you feel by what Meredith did that she wasn't quite getting the exercise, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had talked about having her get up out of bed, and then I think she just kind of maybe took out the easy way out with just like,
Doesn't want to get up.
yeah, just like 8 o'clock, and it's too early for me to get up. Well, she could have pushed a little bit further and said, yeah, remember those days on the farm and us having to get up early and milk the cows, and I think she could have just established that rapport a little bit more. So that's something I probably could have coached her with.
So let's say your agenda, I'll be Meredith, your agenda is to help me work on overcoming resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So we just and my solution was, oh, she didn't want to get up. So she didn't get up, so I didn't make her get up.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to come back later. Okay, now you're my preceptor.
So I say, well, don't you think she wanted to get up? Well, she was too tired. Okay, well, let's go give that a try. And let's, what could we have made her develop that rapport enough to figure out that it was important for us to get up at that time.
Okay, so, but she was tired, and her bedtime, her time she gets up is usually 9, and it was only 8. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd come back in an hour.
Well, you can come back in an hour, but she's up now that you got her up, so she wasn't going to go back to sleep, right? Or maybe she was going to, but she's already been woken up, so we can give it a shot.
Okay, so what do I say? Because she doesn't want to get up. What do I say to her? How do I handle that?
Well, we have to go back to developing a rapport. Why does she usually get up at 9 versus 8 when her care plan said 8? And so at some point she had a reference of being up at 8 o'clock. Whether that was her family saying that she was up early for work every morning. So maybe that's something that we could link her for. Those kinds of things. So let's go back to the care plan and look to see what were her hobbies and things like that, so that we can come back with a better ammo system next time.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that. That seems good. The thought that occurs to me is also you could say, okay, pause. That was okay. 8 o'clock. You're coming back at 9. Now you're coming back at 9, and she still doesn't want to get up.
Oh, I would. So then I'm like, oh, you know what? She told you 9 o'clock earlier, and so like it's 9 o'clock. You told me that you needed an alarm clock then, and you wanted to sleep in, so I let you do it. And we gotta get you up and get you going, and breakfast is gonna be soon, and you're probably hungry. So those kinds of things. It's halfway to lunchtime now, or sleep. You're sleeping like a teenager these days, or something. Something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, so I think this was a good exercise.
Yeah.
What areas do you want to work on going from here?
I think I think what I want to focus on is if I'm not seeing, that whole method of playing out, then really encouraging them, because essentially she did what a person living with dementia might have done, is just topped out. So I think maybe pushing a little bit further and saying, let's really try this, versus letting her behavior kind of play the field, or play it out, versus and play it out and precept it, but also kind of swing her back into it. So how did that feel? Okay, let's try something a little bit more in the same time. So.
Gotcha. How about the overall steps of the preceptor process? How's that feeling?
I think it's a little hard to figure out. We kind of talked about a second video, if we needed a second video, and I feel like that conversation, or unless they have a lot of time, I don't think they're able to do multiple videos of that. So I think that's probably my hardest. Or like when they say in the script, it says, well, do you want me to try, or do you want to try first? I feel like they're always going to say, well, I want you to do it. So I think those are probably two of the hard things that I've seen, or whatever, that are maybe a little bit more difficult in that preceptor process.
Sure. So how have you handled that when that comes up, that they want to see you do it? They want you to model it.
Well, we've done it, and then we do it, but it's kind of a shorter. They just basically do exactly what we showed them, versus playing. Not, it's more like scripted when they walk in. Granted, they might need a little bit more than that, but I don't know. It just seemed like it's not their activity then. Or it's not not as real life.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're thinking skipping that step so that they do it and they don't just watch you do it and do exactly what you were doing.
Mhm. Because I feel like that would even be like the teaching of how the positive physical approach on the person would have actually been done before the actual precepting started. I guess I don't know how to say that, but like if I'm going to educate somebody, I'm going to educate them on the positive physical approach, walking through the gem level, and then saying, see how this looks like playing a part with, somebody before they walk in with somebody living with dementia.
Yeah, so they could be like Meredith, who went to the skills day.
Yeah.
Got to practice it. It's not new to her. The advantage there to demonstrating it, to not, and I hear what you're saying. And there's some advantage to skipping the step for the video, just to keep the video within a reasonable time frame. But the advantage of offering and then actually demonstrating can be that, okay, Meredith went to skills day, but it's been a while. Maybe I'm not quite sure what this looks like.
Okay.
And so he watches you do it, and then the thought is, oh, well, then she's just watching me do it, and she's just
Mm-hmm.
doing exactly what I'm doing. If our purpose is building skills and you're doing it right, and she's
Then that,
modeling how to do it off of the correct demonstration, well, that's not so bad.
yeah,
Then she's actually, and then you can always up the game on her. You can
yeah.
switch gem levels. You can instruct the person playing with dementia to do something surprising or different, and
Mm-hmm.
build in something so she can't just follow your model, and she has
Yep.
to adjust in the moment.
Okay.
But I see a lot of value of watching, and also as a learner, boy, if someone's recording, I'm not used to that. And now you want me to do the skills. I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable. I'm not sure, so just taking a pause, so allowing myself to see you do it and saying, oh, well, that doesn't look so hard. I think I can do this.
Yeah.
It can raise comfort level, which is really good. I mean, we want them to feel comfortable in the process and feel free to make mistakes and to test things out. So if it can be that kind of environment, that's a good thing.
Okay. So, like in this instance, when she said, I don't want to get up at 8 o'clock, if this was real life, do you think, and she was struggling with that, do you think then I would potentially model it for her, walking into her and she can just come with me? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if this was an actual person living with dementia, so I want you to see what this looks like. And I'll come back at 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's nothing better than those real life examples. So, if you have the ability to do that, and she's coming back, and now you're doing the interaction, watching how it goes, that can be great. I mean,
Yeah.
but then I wouldn't let that end there. So you come in, you model it, and and now they're in therapy. I view the important part of that real life interaction is to huddle back up with her and say, okay, what did you notice that I was doing? How did I do that? And then have her practice with you.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if she just sees you doing it, so now, all right, so I went in at 8 o'clock and she didn't want to get up for me. So Laura, you're so kind and say, hey, Clark, you want to come and watch me do it? I'll do it at 9. Okay, great. I feel good
Okay.
about that. I see you do it at 9. If that's where our interaction stops, then my lesson is, I don't know how to do this, but Laura does. So when we need to get her up, I'll call Laura.
Mm-hmm.
That's my solution, which is not where we want them to end up. You want me to feel like, oh, I can do this. I got
Right.
this.
Right.
So then going through the whole preceptor process with me saying, okay, how did that work? And let's try it out. Let's test out what I did. So you're just
Okay.
modeling in a different way.
That's true. Okay.
Okay. So for our next call, will be call number 4.
Yep.
If we can go through for the video, the whole process, starting from connecting, setting up what you're going to do, doing it the first time. And I would say, do you want me to do it first, or are you ready to try? And they have the first experience, and then the second experience, and then the plan of practice. So you're really going through the whole preceptor process, which could
Okay.
be a fairly long video. But at this point, it can be really excellent practice. How's that feeling? Is that feeling doable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what I would have built in as an additional step is after you record the video, upload it to me no matter what, but take a look at it with the steps. So if you're using the original preceptor cheat sheet, the word side or the image side, doesn't matter. Just watch it with those in hand and seeing if you hit all the steps, or if you miss something, or if you kind of felt like we didn't do enough of it there, just
Okay.
watch it with those steps in hand. I sent you all what I developed for myself with the preceptor process model and the condensed steps. If that's useful for you, great. If it's not, and if it's confusing, don't use it. Throw that away. Okay, and then we'll talk and we'll go through it. Our next call is we have
Next Friday is what I have, I think.
Yeah. So next Friday, the 25th at noon, and then we move things around, so we don't have a 5th or 6th call. Did you want to try to set those up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm switching over sides here, so I don't have your face in front of me, but seeing if this works here.
Yep.
So I have August 25th. Don't have September 1st, but we can do September 1st at 11 if that works.
All right. Let me see here. So this is going to be Laura, September 1st at 11 a.m. That's call 5. All right, let me just put in this book here too. That should work just fine. 11 a.m. Laura. All right.
And then the last one would be on the 8th.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
That work?
Yeah. You want to do 11 as well?
Sure.
The 8th.
So I have the 25th, the 1st, and the 8th.
Yep. And let's do for the last one, let's do an hour call because we'll go over 11 to 12. So it's 11 o'clock your time.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't get that. I'm so used to going back, like West time, like Mountain time, and that kind of versus forward. I don't have any relatives on that side. I have all my family on the other side. So I just don't know why I can't get that straight.
Not a problem, but it's noon Eastern and it's 11 your time.
Yep.
On the 8th. So we're doing these calls at noon. Okay. At noon, September 8th at noon. Call 6. Okay. Awesome. Well, fantastic. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope your little one feels better too.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Congratulations. You're doing great.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.